60 miles off Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. In a stretch of ocean sailors called a graveyard of the Atlantic, something was floating that had no business being there. It was just after 7 on a Tuesday morning when the Coast Guard station at Oregon Inlet got the first call. A shrimp boat captain reported a massive blue tarp, at least 40 feet across, sitting dead still past the shipping lanes. Within 15 minutes, 2 more boats called in the same thing. All of them kept their distance. Whatever was underneath it was big, and none of them wanted to find out what. Senior Chief Morgan Hale grabbed her crew. Before joining the Coast Guard, Morgan had spent 5 years in the Navy serving on attack submarines. She understood pressure, recycled air, and staying calm when nothing made sense. Her first mate, Jake Torres, a 12-year veteran who could tie any knot ever invented, was already prepping the boat. Davis Chen, the team's technical specialist, ran checklists with obsessive precision. Reese Calloway, the youngest crew member, had the sharpest eyes on the team and instincts that had proven right more times than anyone could count. Morgan kept the briefing short. Unidentified floating object. Multiple vessels avoiding it. Nobody knew what was underneath. Gear up, we're checking it out. Their cutter hit open water at 7:48. The swells ran 4 to 5 feet under an overcast sky. Reese spotted the object first. A sharp blue square against gray-green water, half a mile out. Morgan throttled down and brought them in slow. Up close, it was worse than the reports. The tarp was industrial-grade, reinforced, lashed down with heavy yellow rope tied in precise military knots. Beneath it, something massive pressed against the surface, creating bulges that shifted with the swells. Jake pointed out that the ropes ran straight down into the water, taut and vertical. It's anchored, 4 points. Whoever did this wanted it to stay right here. Morgan secured grapple lines, radioed the station, and gave the order. They cut the ropes and pulled the tarp free. Everyone stepped back. Rising from the water was a massive pale shape, roughly the size of a humpback whale. Grayish-white, mottled with dark blotches, it looked exactly like a rotting whale carcass. From a distance, no captain in their right mind would approach it. The smell of decomposition, the bacteria risk, the danger of a gas explosion from a bloated body. It was camouflage hiding in plain sight, but Morgan pressed a boat hook against the surface. The outer layer gave slightly, soft and rubbery. When she pushed harder, a deep metallic clang echoed back. "That's steel under there," she said quietly. This was no dead animal, it was engineered. With its anchor weights compromised, the structure rolled, exposing its hollow belly. 4 inches of rubber over welded steel plating, and hanging from the interior, running straight down into dark water, were industrial oxygen supply lines. Morgan's stomach dropped. She recognized those hoses from her submarine days. Someone was living down there. But before we continue, take 1 second to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Then Reese heard it. Faint, rhythmic tapping rising through the hollow structure. 3 short taps. Pause. 3 more. Pause. 3 short taps. "That's an SOS, Jake said. Morgan didn't wait. "Jake, Davis, you're with me. We dive. Reese, you stay on deck. If we're not back in 45 minutes, call in everything." They dropped into cold, dark Atlantic water and followed the oxygen hoses 60 feet down to the seafloor. At the bottom, a steel hatch sat half buried in silt, reinforced with locking bolts and marked in both English and Cyrillic script. Scratch marks around the handle showed recent use. Jake forced it open. Bubbles rushed out alongside a faint glow of artificial light. They descended through an airlock into a narrow metal corridor lit by yellowing LEDs. The air was thin and stale, breathable, but barely. Pipes hummed along the ceiling. The floor grating sloshed with dark water. Everything smelled like sweat, rust, and air that had been recycled too many times. Signs of life were everywhere. Work boots by the wall. Empty canned food on shelves. A waterlogged notebook with oxygen calculations and 1 line underlined 3 times. "Do not surface. Not safe." Morgan found the life support room. Oxygen tanks connected to submarine-grade carbon dioxide scrubbers, the same systems she'd maintained in the Navy. The primary tanks were empty. Backups were dropping fast, 6 hours of air left at best. At the end of the corridor, A sealed steel door had a blinking red intercom light. Morgan pressed the button. A crackling sound. Then a voice, hoarse and broken. "Hello? Please. We've been signaling for 11 days. This is Senior Chief Morgan Hale, United States Coast Guard. How many are you?" A pause. Then the voice shattered. 3. Jake and Davis attacked the jammed door. A collapsed support beam had wedged against the frame, sealing it from outside. Using scattered tools and brute force, they levered it free. Behind the door, in a small control room lit by a single blue monitor, sat 3 men. Nathan Marsh, 46, the lead engineer. Gaunt, trembling, but standing. Viktor Orlov, 52, a Russian-American systems specialist who had kept the oxygen scrubbers running with submarine expertise and sheer willpower. He was too weak to stand. Dominic Price, 28, the electrician who had rigged the SOS tapping system 11 days ago and never stopped signaling. Nathan's voice was raw. "We thought no one was coming." They were engineers contracted by a shell company called Meridian Deep Systems. An anonymous investor had funded a secret underwater habitat to prove long-term subsea living was possible. The fake whale hid the air supply and kept ships away. The project ran 4 months before funding vanished without warning. 12 days ago, a structural collapse destroyed their dive suits, jammed the door, and trapped them with dwindling air and no way out. Morgan gave up her own air tank for Victor. She buddy-breathed with Jake for the ascent. Davis rigged a harness to keep Victor secure. They rose slowly, stopping every 15 feet for decompression. In cold, dark water, with exhausted survivors clinging to safety lines, those stops felt like hours. When they broke the surface, Reese was ready. Safety lines deployed. Rescue trolley in position. Victor came up first, then Dominic, then Nathan. Thermal blankets. Oxygen masks. Wind on their faces for the first time in 12 days. Nathan lay on his back, staring at the clouds, tears running silently into his beard. Victor opened his eyes just long enough to look at Morgan and nod. One small nod that said everything. Paramedics were waiting at the dock. A woman pushed through the crowd and collapsed against Nathan, sobbing. His wife. She had filed the missing persons report 9 days earlier. Morgan filed her report that evening. When her commanding officer asked her to summarize, she said, "They kept themselves alive. We just opened the door." The investigation traced Meridian Deep Systems to a tech billionaire who pulled funding after a regulatory scare and abandoned 3 men underwater without a word. Federal charges were filed. New safety regulations followed. Victor spent 2 weeks recovering in a Norfolk hospital. On discharge day, he wrote Morgan a letter. "In the dark, we did not know if anyone was above us. But we kept the air running and we kept tapping, because to stop would mean we had given up on the world. You proved we were right not to." Morgan kept it in her desk drawer. Every year on the anniversary, a package arrives at the station. A card signed by all 3 men. A photo of them somewhere ordinary. A backyard. A restaurant. Proof they're still alive. And one line, always the same. "For our friends above the waves." Some evenings, Morgan walks to the end of the dock and watches the Atlantic turn gold. The ocean keeps its secrets, but she knows that when the next call comes, she'll answer it. And she'll bring someone else home. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next one. See you in the next story.